When most people are asked about the dream of striking it rich quick, what often comes to mind is winning the lottery, or perhaps inheriting an eye-watering sum from an unknown relative. The odds of such a thing happening to you are close to zero, but there are those determined to make it a reality and aren't afraid to get their hands a little dirty. One is sure to have a good bit of money when they own a beer empire as large as Heineken. As you may expect, that much money makes you a very big target for criminals, as Mr. Freddie Heineken would soon find out. A gang of 5 led by Cor Van Hout, Willem Holleder were very much intent on pursuing the dream of striking it rich. While their previous criminal activities were insignificant at best, these men were incredibly ambitious, if not a bit misguided. Van Hout claims he previously ran a perfectly legitimate construction business, despite his frequent use of questionable business techniques. This led many to believe that his construction business wasn't a business at all, but simply a cover-up for much more criminal activities. Willem Holleder, his co-conspirator in this plot, was thought to have lived a life of smaller crimes and robberies. That one fateful day, November the 9th, 1983, started much like any other, but as he would soon find out, this tiring day of work would soon get a lot more tiring. When Freddie Heineken stepped into his car, he would have never guessed he'd be kidnapped by gunmen and held in a prison cell for the next 21 days. The gang dedicated their time to this plot for the better part of 2 years. Over 100,000 Dutch guilders reported to the operation, as well as 6 stolen cars, 2 prison cells, and more guns than your average American. The cells were hidden deep in a workshop in West Amsterdam's harbors. A new wall was created, containing a hidden door that led to the soundproof cells. The prisoners were only kept a few feet away from construction workers, with a hastily constructed wall between them. Despite the room becoming roughly 12 feet shorter, the construction workers were completely oblivious. To throw the authorities off their scent, the gang pretended to be German. They only communicated to the authorities in German, and all equipment used were manufactured in Germany. The gang's previous attempts at the kidnapping turned out woefully unsuccessful due to Freddie Heineken's tendency to deviate from routine. But finally, on the evening of Wednesday, November the 9th, 1983, the plot got underway. Freddie Heineken, along with the 2 women accompanying him, were overpowered by 2 men and stuffed into a van. Freddie's driver rushed quickly to confront the kidnappers, only to be overpowered as well. Freddie made an offer to immediately write a check to the kidnappers the moment he was stuffed into a van, but oh no, the kidnappers still had much to negotiate. The original plot planned for Freddie to be held for only 48 hours, but due to disappointing negotiations, that was stretched to 21 days. Freddie and his driver were stripped of their clothes and thrown into separate cells. They were to have no contact with each other. Despite the disastrous turn of events, Freddie Heineken didn't seem fazed at all. He would frequently joke with his captors and complained about the food they were served. He would later joke to his friends, "They tortured me. They made me drink Carlsberg." The same could not be said about his driver, however. His mental health soon declined. The gang contacted the police anonymously, demanding $35 million to be taken from the company, and only the company itself. They were to be notified when the ransom was paid by an advertisement in the local paper reading, "The meadow is green for the hare." It took 3 weeks for the ransom to be paid due to several complications. An officer was to place 5 envelopes of money down a drainage channel off the side of a highway marked with a traffic cone. The gang swiftly collected the money and sped off into the night on a pickup truck. The gang drove to a wooded area southeast of Amsterdam, where, in iconic Dutch fashion, they made their getaway on bikes. However, this was when the plan went south. Soon later, the authorities received an anonymous tip revealing the identities of some of the kidnappers. Perhaps one of them wanted the money for themselves. All 5 of the members of the gang were rounded up and sentenced to lengthy terms in prison. The leader of the gang, Van Hout, would meet a violent end in 2003. The story of the kidnapping made him a bit of a legend within the criminal world. After his release in prison, he had worked his way up to the leader of the Penus, or the Dutch organized crime. His life ended when he was met by a hail of bullets while stepping out of a restaurant in Amsterdam. Turns out the one who ordered the hit was none other than his lifetime friend and partner in crime, Willem Holleder. As for Freddie Heineken, he continued to live a happy life, stepping down from CEO in 1983. He would live to 78 years old, dying from a case of pneumonia in 2002. And thus, the end of the video has been reached. On behalf of Brilliant Bean, we express our everlasting thanks for watching. If this video satisfied your thirst for enjoyment, you know what to do. If it didn't, well, hit the dislike button twice. When Johnny reaches the end of the video, he hits the subscribe button. In the unlikely event that he forgets such a task, he shall be sent for mandatory re-education.